John Cena turned heel, aligned with The Rock, and brought Travis Scott into WWE. It should have been the most insane final run in wrestling history. Instead, it's been awkward, hollow, and weirdly forgettable. No new music, no real character shift, no real explanation. This was meant to be the last chapter of a legend, but somehow WWE is fumbling it badly. Chapter 1. The heel turn heard around the world. Let's go back to the Elimination Chamber. Cena wins the chamber match. He's going to WrestleMania, the crowd is losing it. Then The Rock shows up. Tension builds. He asks Cody if he's willing to sell his soul. Cody tells him to go f himself. And then, out of nowhere, Cena hugs Cody and drops him. Instant heel turn. Shockwaves through the wrestling world. Cena is aligned with The Rock and Travis Scott. What is happening? It was wild, it was confusing, but most importantly, it was buzzworthy. Our minds all started racing with fantasy booking scenarios and dream matchups for the next year. We were desperately trying to figure out why Cena did it, what the connection between him and The Rock meant, and why Travis Scott was there. Non-fans were paying attention. WWE was making headlines everywhere and the world was watching, hoping for some answers at John Cena's final WrestleMania this year. This could have been WWE's next mega faction, with 3 worldwide stars. A once-in-a-lifetime story, but instead of momentum, WWE dropped the ball the moment after Cena dropped Cody. Chapter 2. The celebrity confusion. Even in that brilliant twist, things were off. Most notably, why was Travis Scott involved? He appeared alongside The Rock and Cena, silently hinting at a strange celebrity faction. But WWE never explained it. It wasn't just weird, it was distracting. If this was supposed to be a new alliance, it needed storytelling, justification, or something. Cena showed up on the European tour like nothing had happened. Same music, same gear, just a slightly angrier attitude. No mention of The Rock or Travis Scott. How do you turn your biggest star heel for the first time? Pair him up with 2 celebrities and not even bother to explain it. Elimination Chamber ended with Cena, The Rock, and Travis Scott standing tall now Cena's out here alone, acting like none of that happened and it was just between him and Cody. It's weird, awkward, and honestly comes off like The Rock didn't want to stick around, but still wanted to be part of the heel turn somehow. Fans expected a full character change, new music, new gear, or darker presentation. Instead, we got the same Cena with just a frown. It was like the biggest heel turn in modern wrestling was thrown together last minute with no real story ready. Chapter 3. Lazy promos, weaker storytelling. When John Cena finally addressed his shocking heel turn, a moment fans had speculated about for years, he said he'd been in an abusive relationship with the fans. And that was it. No mention of The Rock, no reference to the years of hustle, loyalty, and respect he claimed to stand for, no explanation for why one of WWE's most iconic babyfaces suddenly aligned with Travis Scott of all people. It felt like a punchline without a setup, a twist with no story. There was no long-term build-up, no internal conflict, unless you count him inserting himself into the Elimination Chamber match without qualifying. But even that was just done at the Royal Rumble press conference, not on TV. He gave us a promo that sounded more like a vague therapy metaphor than the emotional fallout of a man betraying everything he once stood for. And instead of growing from there, each promo that followed became a copy-paste routine. Cena repeating the same "you turned on me first" line like it was supposed to carry the weight of his entire character arc. Meanwhile, Cody Rhodes is out there pouring his soul into every segment, carrying the company on his back like it's personal. And Cena? He delivers his lines like he's reading off a teleprompter between film shoots. For a guy who built his legacy on mic skills, the ruthless aggression, the heartfelt promos, the moments that made fans cry, cheer, and boo. This version of Cena feels detached, hollow, like he turned heel on autopilot and never looked back. For a turn that could have redefined his career, this heel run so far feels like a missed opportunity. And for fans who waited over 20 years for this moment, it's starting to look less like a bold new chapter and more like a rushed rewrite from a writer's room that didn't have a plan. Chapter 4. WrestleMania 41 letdown. WrestleMania 41. Cena vs Cody. The stage is set. Cena finally debuts a new Titantron. Just white text on a black screen. Edgy, minimalist, but why now? Why not at the heel turn? Again, WWE's timing is all over the place. The match itself, not amazing, but no one was expecting a 5-star classic. However, it just never clicked. It felt like a mid-tier main event, not a once-in-a-generation moment. And then, the swerve. Travis Scott interferes. Cena becomes a 17-time world champion, passing Ric Flair, and The Rock doesn't even show up. Let that sink in. Travis Scott helped Cena make history, and we still have zero idea why. He hasn't spoken. It feels like WWE inserted him just for the headlines, not for the story. That's the problem. This entire run feels corporate, not creative. A heel turn built on branding, not brilliance. Chapter 5. Post-Mania Chaos. After WrestleMania, there was still hope. Cena vs Orton one last time, in Orton's hometown of St. Louis. A rivalry that helped define an entire generation of wrestling. A perfect setup. Two legends whose careers have been forever intertwined. But again, they fumbled it. Instead of building an emotionally charged final chapter to one of WWE's most iconic rivalries, we got the same recycled formula. Cena cuts a cold, vague promo, Orton hits an RKO, lights out, segment over. Rinse, repeat, there was no escalation. No deep cut callbacks to their 20+ year history. It didn't feel like two warriors reaching the end of a decades-long war. It felt like a lazy TV segment stapled onto the card for nostalgia points. WrestleMania happened on April the 20th. Backlash was on May the 10th. Not even a full month to tell the story between two of the biggest stars in WWE history. That's barely 3 weeks to sell a match that deserved 3 months. These rushed PLEs are killing long-term storytelling. WWE is cramming major events into the calendar like a content machine that's scared to slow down. But here's the thing, wrestling thrives on anticipation. Letting stories breathe, giving characters time to unravel. When you throw together massive matches with 3 weeks of build-up, you're not giving fans a reason to care. You're just hoping they'll show up for the marquee names. Imagine if WWE had treated this right. Spanned multiple PLEs, start with tension, let the past bleed back in. Make it personal, use flashbacks, backstage segments, callbacks to old betrayals and battles. That's how you honor Cena vs Orton. Not with one recycled segment and a rushed match, but with a final chapter worthy of their legacy. And then, Cena vs R-Truth. On paper, it sounds almost laughable. A seasoned legend like Cena squaring off with R-Truth, who's often seen as WWE's comedic veteran. But beneath the surface, this feud had potential. R-Truth has openly idolized Cena for years. He's called Cena his childhood hero, which is hilarious considering Truth is actually older than Cena. That ironic dynamic alone could have been a goldmine for storytelling. Imagine the emotional layers here. Cena, the ultimate superstar, facing off against a man who looked up to him like a god, only now they're bitter rivals. The psychological torment Cena could have inflicted on Truth, the physical dominance, it could have been a magnet for genuine heat and emotional investment. But WWE didn't lean into any of that. Instead, the match was treated like a throwaway, barely 4 minutes long. WWE should have had Cena destroy R-Truth, making him bleed to the point where it had to be stopped. They had the perfect recipe for something special. A story of respect turned sour, idolization turned into resentment. Yet again, WWE just dropped the ball. Chapter 6. Money in the Bank and CM Punk. At Saturday night's main event, WWE announces Cena and Logan Paul versus Cody Rhodes and Jey Uso. Yep. That's what they're doing now. There were rumors they were going to make it a 6-man tag with Travis Scott and Jimmy Uso, which just sounds like a 2K universe simulation gone wrong. Cena's clock is ticking. At this stage of his career, every match should feel legendary. Instead, he's cutting half-hearted promos about ruining wrestling. Even Cena vs CM Punk, one of the greatest rivalries in WWE history, was completely mishandled. No slow burn, no long-term storytelling. The only memorable moment was Cena's rendition of Punk's pipe bomb, and that's it. The actual match took place in Saudi Arabia, loaded with run-ins and absolutely no emotional payoff. A feud that once defined a generation, featuring arguably Cena's best opponent, ended in a rushed, empty shell of what it could have been. Triple H claims that was their final match ever. If that's true, it's a massive missed opportunity. This should have happened at Money in the Bank. It should have ended in Chicago with Cena soaking up nuclear heat in Punk's backyard. That would have been iconic. Instead, we got a forgettable send-off to an all-time classic rivalry. Ironically, Cena's heel character is all about ruining wrestling, and somehow that's exactly what this run has felt like. He's still coming out in throwback merch, still getting cheered. WWE wants the buzz of a heel Cena, but they just don't want to commit to it. They're afraid to lose merch sales, afraid to alienate nostalgia, and because of that, they've turned the most shocking heel turn in modern wrestling into one big advertisement. Look, there's still time. WWE could turn it around. We are exactly 6 months into the farewell tour, with 6 months to go. But right now, Cena's last run feels like a highlight reel of what could have been. What do you think? Is it too late? Or can WWE still save it? Let us know in the comments, and if you want more weekly deep dives into the best and worst of pro wrestling, subscribe to WrestleReel. We'll see you in the next one.